Good morning. You're listening to Drinking Socially, the official Untappd podcast.
Your weekly look into what's happening in the Untappd community and the world of beer.
Today's episode is brought to you by Pabst Blue Ribbon Hard Coffee. Legal won't let us call it adult chocolate milk, so we're definitely not calling it adult chocolate milk. But how about coffee? Coffee shouldn't be complicated. Coffee should be hard. This is like the fancy coffee gas station glass bottle, but with booze in it. Just try it. You'll like it. PBR hard coffee is the drink you didn't know you needed. It tastes way better than it should, so grab some PBR hard coffee and find out for yourself. And make sure while you're liking it that you hit that like button or take a minute to put that beer down and leave us a review, but keep the beer close to you, just like I do with Harrison. Actually, speaking of Harrison, he's been talking a lot about ice picks. What are we drinking today?
What are we doing today? Well, today, the year of the lager is kicking it up a notch, folks. We are combining the science of brewing with the magic, but also science of freezing things. It's Eisbock time. I know what you're thinking. Nothing says summer like a 12% lager. We couldn't agree more, so we are jumping on what was originally a brewing accident, like a hot Dampfnudeln, you know what I mean, and sharing our experience with you, fellow beer explorers. So grab your ice pick, jump on Untappd to find the closest Eisbock to you, and join along as we come in from the cold and earn another new core badge. Tell them what I'm talking about, Johnny.
Well, Harrison, from the cold badge. No, it's the best Johnny I can do. But we're talking about Untappd's one of the new core badges. This one titled From the Cold, which really describes how an Eisbock is made. When you unlock this badge, Untappd will joy you with another beer poem. Burr, it's cold in here. Everybody should be thinking there must be some toros in the atmosphere. Yes. But Untappd is going to remind you that there must be some Eisbocks in the atmosphere. That's 5 different beers with the style of Bock, Eisbock, Traditional, or Freeze-Distilled. So this is a beer badge on Untappd, and it's the style of the beer that's going to help you unlock and level up this badge. In this case, you'll be drinking 5 of them to unlock it, and 5 more to level it up. And if you drink 10 Eisbocks, I think there's a German holiday for you. But
right. Statue, something.
Yeah. At least we'll celebrate you. It's not only the year of the lager, but that's a lot of lager.
Yeah, the year of the lager, in which Eisbock only is an afternoon. We can't dedicate a week to it or anything more than that. It's just too powerful. But
for health reasons.
Right, legally.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And the one we have today is, a lot of these are going to be classics. A fair amount of American brewers have messed around with Eisbocks, but it's cost prohibitive. It takes a lot to make them. You got to, freeze your beer, as the name would kind of suggest, which logistically can be difficult for many breweries to even do, to have enough coolant to do that. But anyway, Aventinus has no problem with that, so we're drinking Aventinus Eisbock from Schneider Weisse, Schneider and Son Brewing in Germany. Itself, the home of the Eisbock, originally from Bavaria, which we'll talk about in a moment. But this is a Bock Eisbock Traditional, 12% ABV. So what a lager indeed, or about 4.5 Radler is 15 IBUs. It carries a 3.83 out of 5 on Untappd. And from the brewery themselves, it says a description. John is pouring the beer and showing it off on the tube. Magic and a black soul.
Yes.
The mahogany-colored, almost black Eisbock for sensuous indulgence. All right, Germany. Wow. Best served in a balloon glass, so we're going to do our best today. John's got a perfect one. Matured in a special freezing process following a special recipe with a soft, elegant body, but still intensive, spicy flavors of plum, banana, and clove reveal themselves along with a hint of bitter almond and marzipan. So tempting as a digestif, but also crepes, dark chocolate, tiramisu, and fully ripe Parmesan cheese are what they recommend you enjoy this with. I might say a cigar or a pipe, detective or not, but enough about that. I haven't even had it yet. John has. John, tell me what's this beer putting down? What's happening?
I can't get over the description. It reads like a romance novel cover.
Yeah, they
Spicy
get
flavors of plum, banana, and clove.
Ooh.
Right? First thoughts on the nose. Didn't expect this. It tastes like going into like a German pastry shop. No, sorry.
Yep.
It smells like going into
Yeah.
a German pastry shop.
Yeah.
Doesn't taste far off. On the initial, I'm trying to recall, I've only had one sip of this beer, but it's exciting. There's things happening in here that I wouldn't expect from a lager, right? A lot has happened to this poor thing, but it's come out stronger for it. The plum is maybe the first thing that I want to recognize, or plum, or like a inky, jammy stone fruit. And then as I swallow, I missed the almond, I missed the marzipan, but I get a little bit of banana. And I think this beer would do well sitting next to like any after dinner drink. It just hits those kind of like those flavors you get from like one of those $12 pours of sherry that comes in a tiny little glass. It's 1 ounce. That's what this beer tastes like to me. Wow.
Yeah, this is amazing. So one of the first beers I ever cloned as a home brewer was Aventinus Weizenbock, like their Doppelbock, their wheat Doppelbock. It's very similar. Netco 8.2%, so not far off. Very similar looking, similar grain bill, and almost identical nose. Where it's like, it's banana, clove, plum. It's those like estery kind of flavors that you find in a lot of Belgian beers, but also like a lot of really big German beers too. And I get the heat a little bit. There's a booze note in here as you're drinking it, where it starts off as those kind of, like you said, almost like a call and response to an American pastry stout. This is like, we've been doing this for a while over here. Bananas and cloves and bubble gum, and we got candy in our beer too, but it's the yeast doing it. So that happens at the beginning, and then it's like that pow. It better be 5 below outside, and you're fighting off polar bears, or trying to figure out how to beat a pack of wolves, and this is the beer you want by your side, kind of warming your soul as you venture into the unknown, into the night, the dark, wintry darkness. Anyway, this
turned into a Robert Frost poem.
That's great. Where I just say darkness every line. But this is delicious, but it's got some heat. It's definitely got some boost in there, which is, expected. It's true to the style. But almost immediately, whenever I taste that in a beer, I want to enjoy this one, but also wish I had one for the cellar, just to be like, all right, tell me your story. I know this is just the first chapter. This beer could probably last for a year. It's a lager already. Sit on it for years and see what it does. That'd be pretty cool. But this is a great intro to the style. It's drinkable, but I know I have something pretty powerful in my hand, no doubt.
Yeah, unmistakably. Your comparison to like a foreign or like a German pastry stout, I think is really accurate. Letting the yeast give you the flavor. But the flavor is unmistakably there. Even just on the nose, it's hard for me to not convince myself this is like a homemade jam that comes from someone's grandma or something.
Right. So much fruit happening here. But again, you talk about IPAs, you can talk about fruit all day, but this is different. But it's some of the same fruit flavors, but it's totally different. Gosh, I love these styles of beer. They're so... and again, it's kind of trips you up that it tastes like bubble gum and bananas and clovey things, but none of that's in here. It's just the yeast just doing what it does, which is impart some impressive flavors that are definitely spicy and hard to replicate artificially. You've really kind of got to let the yeast just do what it wants to do. to get this kind of like complex banana bubblegum happening.
Banana bubblegum's a great. I bet it probably won't be long before we see American brewers. Well, no, because like you said, it's cost prohibitive. Maybe Buffalo brewers could do this just by leaving the doors open. To your point earlier, Harrison, like the story behind this beer style is born of carelessness or like an accident,
right?
Like all things history, who's to really say for sure?
Right,
Did
exactly.
chocolate chips just fall into a cookie batter and create the greatest cookie ever? Who knows? But
maybe.
Do you have any kind of details about the story of like were they putting the beer in the freezer to cool it down like I do when it's like almost game time and my beer's not cold enough and they just forgot it in there?
Almost. And I mean, you're from Buffalo. I'm from the Northeast. So we're, if you are as well, you're probably familiar with the benefit. One of the benefits of the winter is you don't need to put your beer in a cooler. You just put it on your deck, put it outside your door, put it outside for a couple of minutes and it'll cool down plenty to, enjoy later that night. And this is basically like that story taken to the nth degree. In fact, if you're from Buffalo, you may have accidentally made a couple Eisbocks yourself. If you do leave a case of, some pale ale or whatever out on your porch and it comes back mostly ice, what you're drinking, you basically distilled that beer down since alcohol is measured by volume. If a lot of the volume is gone because now it's ice and the liquid is going to be, a higher percentage of alcohol per sip. So, that's what this is, that this beer is. And it was all an accident, according to kind of the tall tale of the Eisbock. In the late 1800s, a distracted apprentice left a barrel of just Bock, so like a moderately strong German beer, outside during the winter. Again, it froze, removed a lot of the water out of that beer, thus, increased the alcohol by volume of it. And the Eisbock is now here to stay. But like you said, like I said, it's tough to do that now. I mean, does winter even happen still? I feel like everyone just kind of has a moderate fall and then a nice spring. Winter's I kid, or do I? But still, like to manufacture this in a brewery takes a lot of work and a lot of, I've shared this during the podcast before of actually freezing tanks, and all the tanks are connected by the same coolant. You accidentally freeze another beer you don't want to, and that happens only every once in a while. There's just a lot of work that goes into making this beer, and then how do you get a huge, bright tank size, like 3-story house size ice cube to melt in an appropriate amount of time to put another beer in there. All kinds of logistical stuff that go into making an Eisbock that aren't desirable. But this one, kind of an accident as the tall tale goes, of just someone leaving a barrel of Bock outside, and now we have Eisbock.
One time I convinced my wife we didn't need to bring the plants inside when it was going to get cold. And we got ice ferns, and I got in a lot of trouble. Yeah,
that's not as fun as an Eisbock. Yep, that's different. Those are just dead plants. At least if you leave a beer outside in the cold, and it just becomes a boozier beer. So anyway, test it out, or next time that happens, don't be bummed out that your IPA is frozen and not good. It's just now become a double IPA. There's just less of it to drink.
Throw the ice away and get the party started quicker.
Oh, I love it.
And so this badge, we just came off on last week's episode. We talked about dessert time and that new badge. It's kind of serendipitous, maybe, or even though we sometimes try and plan these, but going from the American-focused pastry stout badge into the German or foreign-focused Eisbock style badge.
Yeah.
When I looked at this one on Untappd, it was slow going, or maybe just slow getting started. And I'll contribute to this. There's not many Eisbocks I've had before, and it's as Harrison will tell you, this beer is a commitment that takes a little bit of courage, not just to drink, but to make.
Absolutely.
Freezing a 3-story cube of beer. And so far on Untappd, this badge has been live for almost a month, and there's been about 350, maybe close to 400 people that have unlocked it so far. By drinking, you have to drink 5 Eisbocks and log them on Untappd. Of course, 5 different ones. We took a look at some of the beers that are at the top of the scale. This one that we're drinking today is in second place.
That's right.
And in first place, this surprised me, but it shouldn't. There's a beer that I'm going to just read is 2YO from Velka Morava, a brewery in Russia. And if anybody's going to make Eisbocks, I feel like Russia has a whole country built for freezing beer. So it's nice to see that brewery and that beer is right now in first place. But it was also really cool to see every beer, every brewery that's helping people earn and unlock this badge is non-American, except for one that made it into the top.
Right.
And it's from Anheuser-Busch, and it's Bud Ice.
Bud Ice! We've all had a Bud Ice night, haven't we? The Rangers lost, and you're falling down in the street. Bud Ice! In a gas station, what do I get? 3 a.m. Bud Ice. Oh, man. Yeah. Yep. That was cool, though. You're right, John. I mean, this beer from Germany, tons of history there. And a lot of craft breweries in the States, they really do, like, it's kind of like the boogeyman. They're like, we don't need to make it. There's not a crazy demand for it. So let's not open up that Pandora's box of, maybe destroying a bunch of people's days and brewing equipment in the process. But I mean, hats off to all these brewers that are making this beer, because it is intensive. It's work intensive. It's a whole thing. And the 2YO from Velka, that beer, as of recording, they just released it. It's got 119 check-ins. 119 of them are unique, and they were all from this month. Wow. So great. Kudos to them, right? Releasing an Eisbock in the middle of summer. But like we said in the beginning, why not? If you're going to drink a lager in the summer, why not have the super lager that is an Eisbock? So, but some other cool names on here. Jopin from the Netherlands. They have 2 in the top 10 already. And then Kulmbacher Eisbock from Kulmbacher Brewery. They're kind of known as like the godfather of this style. They were one of the first. That Eisbock itself has more than 23,000 check-ins on Untappd. So definitely them, and the one we're enjoying today. They're kind of a handful of German breweries that have made Eisbocks for a long, long time now. Again, since 1890, since this accident that may have almost got somebody fired, now turned into this kind of cool beer with a cult following. We're enjoying right now.
Yeah, you see Eisbocks start trending on Untappd. That's when it's time to invest in pickaxes.
That's right. Pickaxes,
air dryers,
and snowshoes, and whatever. Yep, and more layers, long johns, all those things. And we may now, with this badge out there in the wind. I mean, badge hunters, let's go. Find your Eisbock, jump on Untappd. There's got to be hopefully one nearby somewhat. We saw a fair amount of Verify venues that had them on their menus right now, so it's not impossible. And it's really cool styles. And you could grab it now and enjoy it in the winter. You don't have to rush to drink this guy. It's going to be good for a while.
Yeah, especially with the ABV that it usually packs. And one cool thing that I noticed when we look at these new core badges, some people are unlocking them and they're using retroactive beers that you might have checked into 20 Eisbocks in your Untappd career. But when you unlock the badge, it's the beer that you drank most recently. And that's, to your point, Harrison, like why 2YO would be one of the most popular beers. Hopefully no one's drinking 12 of them. That's not going to help you earn the badge or do much of anything. But but those unlocks, I think Kulmbacher we saw towards the bottom of the list. But to you're exactly right, Harrison. I think Kulmbacher is probably one of the most checked in Eisbocks on all of Untappd. They're the brewery that kind of claims the origin story of the careless intern brewing assistant.
Yeah, I think it was they share the story the most. I think it was like a sister brewery or maybe a brewery under a former name of theirs. think they credit it with being from a brewery that I don't think exists anymore in Germany, Reichelbrau Brewery, but in Kalmbach, Bavaria. So right where Kalmbacher is. So, and actually that might be, without doing any research, might be the same brewery that Kalmbacher is. It used to be called Reichelbrau. So yeah, Kalmbacher kind of related to directly the origin of this beer. Maybe they changed the name to distance themselves from the haphazard intern. Didn't want that black spot on their resume, so let's burn down the business, start again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not insinuating 120, 30-year-old insurance fraud. I would never.
Please don't investigate that. It was just a marketing ploy.
Exactly right. Super expensive and illegal marketing ploy. But yeah, they definitely share this story with everyone who will come through a tour to see them. And it's just, and again, who knows if it's true or not. But a great story nonetheless.
Normally at this point or around this point in the podcast, Harrison, we would talk about like where we are on the levels for this badge. You want to skip it? Oh, okay.
Let's just let the people know. We don't want to be, want to be transparent, John. We want to let them know how many, when we got a goose egg, we got to lay that goose egg and let people know it's a goose egg.
Hi, my name's John. On social media, I'm drinking with John. I have not unlocked this badge just yet. Right. I know I'll be a little closer after I check into this beer, but I can confidently say I haven't logged 5 Eisbocks on Untappd. I don't think I could find 5 Eisbocks without taking a day off to travel.
Right. Therein lies the challenge. And I forgive you for that. I also am at a big old goose egg, a big old nada on this badge, but I'll say it now so that the internet can hold me accountable. By the end of 2021, again, the winter in North Carolina doesn't even start until February, but the end of 2021, I'm going to try and get to level 1 here. This will start the process, but or at least get to level 2 rather. So that's my goal. I'm going to try and find the Eisbocks I can and lean into this style because this is firing me down memory lane. And it's really right. It's delicious. It's cool. It's one of those beers where you can have just one and watch a whole 90-minute movie and fall right asleep afterwards like a sweet little baby. So I'm all about it. And hold me to it, internet. I'm going to drink 5 of these things at least before the year ends. And if not, please hit me up on New Year's Eve and tell me to drink 4 more and then don't talk to me until February because I'll be incapacitated, just living off Advil and Cronuts or whatever makes me feel better.
At least it's not a croissant.
That's right. Speaking of the winter and this badge from the cold, let's do a Would You Rather, John. The people want it. I want it. This is a tough one I've got for you today. So
you're asking me the Would You Rather?
I am. Of course. You got to share the knowledge in there. You're an observer like us all. You've got a lot of life in that body. It needs to, we can get it out and share it with the people. So let's do that. So, John, would you rather be cold all the time or be hot all the time? And I know from how often I get the sheets stolen from me in the middle of the night what my wife's answer to this would be. But, John, you're not my wife. What say you?
A lot of truth and deductive logic in that statement. Okay, so would I rather be cold all the time or hot all the time? Neither of these are a comfortable state. But
that's it. That's horrible. Yep.
It's just disclaimer. I feel like I'm always too hot or too cold. Sometimes both. The air conditioning is like blowing on your feet, but you're hot up top. That's it. Anyways, would I rather be cold all the time or hot? I spent the first 30 plus years of my life living in Buffalo, New York, and I was cold all the time. There's a special atmosphere in Buffalo where it's just cold. The air is cold. And then I after a while I realized that wasn't how I wanted to spend my entire life. So I moved further south, closer to the equator and the sea to get away from that cold. And I don't regret that move. But I got to say, being hot is less comfortable than being cold. I think this is a subjective thing, but if I had to, I'm going to try and rein myself in because there's probably a lot of philosophy and things that a proper therapist would want to unpack here. But if I'm hot, which I'm frequently here in North Carolina, and memory is short, I don't remember hating being cold all the time because if I walked outside, I'd start sweating immediately. And so it's uncomfortable because when I'm outside, you can only take off so many clothes before it's not acceptable. And you can't really have like a fan blowing on you when you're trying to edge your front lawn or anything. And it's just, that can be pretty upsetting. When it's cold, I can put on a Carhartt, a couple extra jackets, a hoodie, I can put on boots, and I can kind of make do. It's still uncomfortable. But there's one of the most favorites or one of the most treasured activities I've ever done is like camping in the snow, and you build up a campfire and you have on all these layers of clothes. So you're just like heavy and comfortable, and there's a fire going, which isn't doing much to keep the cold at bay.
Right.
But it's the best environment for drinking a beer and sharing stories. If it were hot, I wouldn't be able to do that. I think I would just be angry and grouchy because I was hot. So again, if any of you are therapists, I'm accepting invitations via email. But my answer is I'd rather be cold all the time because I would feel like I can control my response to that better. Being hot, I just turn into a whiny. I'm not a fun person to be around when it's uncomfy hot.
You're right. That's a great point about how you can only take off so many layers of clothing before you're in jail. Where you can wear as many clothes as you want, again, even beyond reason there. We think about Ralphie in the Christmas Story or his brother or whatever, just 90 layers and he can't even
put
walk.
His arms down.
Right. So but he's warm at least, right? He's not cold. So I hear you there. I think that's the right answer. I mean, I don't even know if I could play devil's advocate here. I remember walking outside last night at nighttime and it was 90 degrees and trying to breathe. It's the one nugget I'll add is hot, humid hot and desert hot are different. They're all horrible. Do you want to be cooked in an oven or cooked in a steamer? That's all you're asking yourself. And neither of those things are great. So yeah, I mean, hot's horrible. I don't want to freeze, and have to shake until I drop, but I mean, I guess you have a little more control over the cold. The hot, you're just gross and sweaty and talking about how hot you are. You've chosen well, John. Spoken like a true. Right.
A would you rather where there's two good alternatives? Maybe one of these. Would you rather drink beer all the time, or would you rather play video games all the time?
Be an actuary. Oh, okay, right. I get what you're saying. Right. Two goods. You're right. We always put ourselves in these horrible situations where it's just pick between, do you want to drown or fall off a cliff? Well, I don't know how much time you got. We're sure. If you got a good would you rather, let us know. Tell us about it. We're going to try and bring these back to the podcast after some great feedback about them. We have fun. Hope you guys are too. But let us know what we break down.
Speaking of having fun and things on the podcast, Harrison, would you rather tell me about the verified venue that we're going to feature this week? Or just, that's it?
Yep, I would. I would. And I shall. So this week, we're jumping over to the UK and enjoying some pints in our mind from 7,000 Jars of Beer. So they are a verified venue on Untappd, our bottle shop, in Kingston upon Thames, London, UK, which is an amazing mouthful of things to just tell you the town they're in. But near Wimbledon, so tennis, yay, that just ended. Another great Wimbledon in the books. A lot of rain, but they made it through. The first independently owned craft beer shop in Kingston upon the Thames. It's just really cool. If you don't know much about kind of UK, a lot of tied house laws, and it's kind of, you don't see that a lot. When in the US, there are bottle shops on every corner now, it feels like, and anyone can open one. Laws are different there in the UK, so awesome thing to take pride in, being the first one right there. And they don't stop at beer. I mean, these guys have cider, have wine, tons of gin. Obviously, gin's another huge part of the kind of the beverage history of the UK. So, got a ton of gin they're talking about all the time, and a lot of Eisbocks. That's how we found him. I was just cruising around, seeing where else in the world you could find Aventinus' Eisbock that we're enjoying right now, and these guys have it. So my kind of first intro on what 7,000 jars of beer are up to, but doing a lot of stuff. And go there, grab a couple pints, or enjoy some pretty seriously amazing craft beer. I mean, looking at their list, they had things from all over the world. Some of it on tap, a lot of it to go, which is cool to see. But so enjoy stuff there. They have a cool little outdoor area that they've been making use of now that it's finally nice and warm out. But I mean, Nelson Fog from Burnt Mill, which I've heard a lot about, is something they have on tap, or as an IPA available right now while we're recording this. And then I saw a couple of things on tap that kind of grabbed my eye, like the Fooder Lager. So it's from the Colonel Brewery. They're doing a series of Fooder Lagers. This one has Tettnanger hops in it. That's a lot to unpack there, but that sounds amazing, and to have it as a draft option. So these guys are doing it. They're getting some serious stuff. If you're able to, go check them out. And I think I saw something cool they did the other month for Father's Day. John, did you catch that?
Yep. I always investigate the venues you send me, and 7,000 jars looks... I want to know if they have 7,000 jars in the warehouse, but they're for Father's Day in the UK, which I wasn't aware happened on around the same day that it does here in the States. So that was pretty cool. It's good to have some fatherly brotherhood.
That's it.
And they did, which I think, like for a bottle shop, you're looking for a gift for dad. What is it going to be? A tie? Probably, maybe in the modern equivalent, it might be like a webcam, so he can look good in his office meetings. But
that's great.
I think the beer box is really cool. They did some Father's Day specials. What I think is my favorite part about 7,000 jars is you can get a mixed sticks there, but their staff curates some of their own mixed six packs. And that's the hardest part about buying beer. If you're fortunate enough to live in an area where there's a lot of it, is deciding, right? Which one do I want to get? I'm excited about Eisbocks because it'll just be the one you have. I'll take it. We're done. But when I'm shopping for an IPA or a stout, it's like choosing the right one in a world of so many options. The fact that 7,000 jars has their staff kind of pre-make some and you can just pick. Awesome idea. Really helps people get into beer. Gift for dad. Harrison, you strike me as a guy that's working on the Century Club badge. Are you a Mixed Six fan?
I am working on the Century Club badge. That's a good thing to bring up, John. We're both going to work on it. I'm not going to ask you what you're going to go after today, but soon we'll address that, because if you guys haven't picked one yet, it's another core badge Untappd came out with last month. First beer you check in 100 times, not in a row, same beer. So if you haven't picked one or you haven't earned this badge yet, jump into the Facebook group. We were talking about that there right as the badges dropped. What's the beer you've checked in the most? Can that be the beer that gets you to the Century Club badge? But you're right. So that's another mission. But I am a big mixed six-pack guy. In fact, that's usually where my best beer of the week comes from. I'm exploring a local bottle shop, put a six-pack together, and discover something great. This week, though, of course, a little bit different. So for my best beer of the week, a big thanks goes out to Brian McCaskey, huge fan of the podcast, an amazing beer explorer himself. You can find him on Untappd at Loud McLeod, which is a great username to see for yourself. He's always just finding amazing beers, things I've never heard of, from brewery doing amazing stuff in all corners of the world. So he was kind enough to share with us some beers, and John shared then with me from Brian the Cynosure. So that's a beer it's a double IPA from Holmes Brewing in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And this is a series they do where it's a sour IPA with a bunch of fruit. So this one that I have has raspberry, blueberry, and lemon in it. It's amazing. It was like a hoppy pie that blew my mind. So Brian, good job for passing that along, because this was, sour IPAs are awesome, but like dumping tons of fruit in it. Hadn't had one before. So Holmes is doing some impressive stuff. They're definitely making a name for themselves as a brewery to watch in Michigan, which is tough because Michigan has nothing but great breweries. So that's kind of like being the best of the best. So hats off to them. Really enjoyed that. Not one I may have grabbed myself. So always happy to jump out of my my safe space there and enjoy some fruited IPAs. Speaking of which, John, what was your best beer of the week?
It's a little untimely, but side note, quick shout out to Brian McCaskey, awesome podcast fan. One of my favorite tips that he's shared with us in the Facebook group is whenever I have to go to like a doctor's appointment or a medical appointment or whatever, I go to the doctor, do what they tell me, and then on my way back, I stop at a brewery and I grab a flight or something to eat.
Smart.
Beautiful. Great advice. So Brian's awesome. Thanks for sharing the beer. My favorite beer of the week is late, but it's, again, first one that comes to mind, Stone's Enjoy By. And I know what you're thinking, John. The last Enjoy By was July 4th, and it's way past July 4th. And it is. This was this July 4th, they did a tangerine and pineapple IPA.
Ooh.
I'm a sucker for directions. If you tell me what to do, I'm almost always going to do it. And the series from Stone has been doing it forever. And I'm also a sucker for marketing. And they literally say on the label, like, drink this beer before it's out.
Now. Yep.
And so when I walked by it, there was a grocery store I was at, and they were selling it at a discount because the label said, like, you've already missed the buck. And I've drank enough Enjoy By pre and post date to know that you'll be okay, especially if they're offering it at a discount. So I jumped on that, got a couple of bottles of it, and I love that series. I think Stone, there should be a tribute paid to Stone for making the labeled and the freshness date on beer, making it such an important thing that we look at as beer consumers. So if you missed this one, keep your eyes out. The next one coming up should be October 31st. So that's an AT's pumpkin, but I don't think they've ever put pumpkin in their IPA.
They haven't.
They never do. But
I'm
sure you'd be okay if they did, Harrison.
I'll buy it. That's right. I'll be first in line and enjoying it all month long and well into the Thanksgiving dinner and stuff beyond the 31st deadline there. But yeah, great series. I remember the first time it came out, everyone was like, "What is this? They're leading with the Best Buy date. We got to buy cases of before it's gone." It was genius. So and it's served them well now years later. So hats off to them. Missed that one, but I never. Yeah, at least once or twice a year I'll grab and Enjoy By because they're just great. It's great beers. They don't skip on the hops at Stone. I'll tell you that. They're definitely happy to dump a bunch of hops into their beers.
And it's still good, making good beers. I think we'll have to get Stone on the podcast sometime. We featured him when we did the Stovepipe episode last season. But there's so many good beers they make.
So many.
And kind of wrapping up this episode, I think you're all wondering the same thing I am. When are we going to get American Eisbocks sponsored by Maytag, Frigidaire, or someone? But maybe soon, honestly. But in the meantime, it seems like our foreign friends are ruling the Eisbock game. And for that, I'm jealous because this beer has been amazing. I could drink every Eisbock in the state of North Carolina and not touch level 5 on this badge. So I love that challenge that Untappd has kind of thrown down for me to find some Eisbocks. For those of you listening in Germany, good luck finding pastry stouts. We'll meet in the middle. But I love a challenge and I'll issue you a soft, easy layup challenge. Follow us. Follow Untappd on social media. If you want to watch Harrison drink beer, show off his band posters and cool t-shirts, you can watch us on YouTube. But I really, really encourage you, Untappd post new episodes of Drinking Socially on their social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, every Wednesday. And go on there and really hammer home that croissants are not the way to say it. We can say croissant and everyone will know what we mean. So maybe here, I don't know.
Right. I don't know how you write that, because croissant and croissant are just going to be spelled the same. So you're just yelling about croissant over croissant, according
Didn't think this through.
Totally. That doesn't matter. That's even better. The people are just yelling about croissants, and let's keep it going.
You say it really nice and subtly. It's like a good, like, croissant, like a good...
Notice that I say it. It's just, I took 900 years of French. I used to dream in French all the time. But that's when I was a sophisticated youngster with a sponge of a brain. Now it's just a rock in my head that tells the same 3 stories again and again. And they'll do that until I cease to be. And that's okay. Next week, we've got the fine folks from Bale Breaker Brewing on to talk about the amazing work they're doing for ales for ALS, raising millions of dollars to fight this disease. You're not going to want to miss it.
Again, drink beer, do good things. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.